bit Sharukkin, the Son of Perdition, by Alan Bonk. Chapter 3. Paul's Training. Paul and Father Ibrahim sat on a bench beside the church. You are Asher's tool to build his empire. As you are now, you are far from being worthy of this endeavor. Paul, your success will be a serious success. Father Ibrahim spoke. Then what do I need to do, Father? Paul asks. A boy around Paul's age passed by the church on a bicycle. Father Ibrahim noticed Paul grimacing. That boy, is he a Shiite, correct? Father Ibrahim inquired. I think so. He used to pick on me in Myerden when we were younger. I don't think he still remembers me, though, Paul answered. It's time for you to start disarming them. Understand your enemy. You must learn to communicate with everyone, not just your friends. What are you getting at, Father? Suddenly, a gust of wind blew. Paul heard a crash and ran out of the courtyard. Further up the dirt road, the boy and his bicycle were laid out on the ground near a large tree branch. Paul turned to see what Father Ibrahim might have to say, but he's nowhere in sight. Paul ran to the boy and helped him up. Don't touch me, grunted the boy. He did not appreciate Paul's help. Paul ignored the rebuff and asked, what happened? Are you all right? It just fell on me from nowhere. The boy relented, and as he brushed off the dust off his clothes, Paul inspected the bicycle. The chains are off the ring, Paul said. The boy retorted, well, fix it. Paul looked back at the boy and remembered the lessons he was supposed to learn, especially when it comes to controlling his anger. Under the shade of a nearby tree, the boy rolled out a mat. Then he started kneeling and reciting prayers. Paul brought the bike under the tree and tried to reattach the chains to the ring, but his eyes shifted frequently to the boy in supplication. Paul accomplished his task in fixing the bike. He sat beside the boy, and they engaged in conversation. The boy would explain something, and Paul listened intently. Yes, I see. It's no wonder that the Muslims are in charge of the country, Paul agreed. The boy has a satisfied look. Can you teach me more? I know, I'm just an Assyrian, but I really want to know, Paul asked. The boy invited Paul to meet some of his friends. Paul made a mental note that flattery is better than confrontation. He had learned his lesson. A few weeks later, Meriden and another union member were walking downtown. They stopped in their tracks when they saw Paul mingling with Shiite boys sporting nice suits, fashionable pompadours, loitering outside a downtown store. The union member muttered under his voice, please tell me this isn't real. Meriden quickly shared a glance with Paul, who continued in conversation with the Shiites. Come on, let's go, Meriden whispered. What do you mean, come on? As Meriden walked away, the union member followed. Sometimes it's hard for the Assyrian nationalists to understand why Paul was friendly with the enemy, but Paul knew his reasons as to why. He was making headway for future relationships. Father Ibrahim began to intensify Paul's training. in a deep location within the monastery, sitting at a table with Father Ibrahim. Visualize yourself outside this monastery. Imagine your most favorite location in the world, the place you feel the safest, ordered Father Ibrahim. It's been an hour, Father. What if trances don't work on me? Paul asked. Time is a requirement. Now, multiply your imagination with vividness. This will become your reality. Focus, the priest quipped. From the darkness, Paul slowly manifested inside a hazy impression of his living room from his childhood. He sat in a chair with his eyes closed and his palms flat on his lap. Father Ibrahim insisted, "Come on, truly see every detail." The room became more vivid and real. Paul opened his eyes. The 1950s radio and the altar in front of him. He realized he's sitting in his grandfather's chair. "I can't believe it. I'm home," Paul marveled, a genuine happiness in his voice. "Is this room fit for a king?" inquired the priest. "No," relented Paul. "Then let's make it bigger," commanded the priest. With the priest's help, Paul made the walls move back, and the ceiling rose up. They made the floors and columns of marble. "Is your chair fit for a king?" the priest asked again. "No." "Then let's fix it too." They built a throne for Paul to sit on. "Do you like your room?" asked the priest. "Yes," answered Paul. "Look behind your throne," ordered the priest. Paul looked and found a door. He opened it, only to find another room. This one was like a high-end executive office, with only the best furniture, lighting, carpet, and more. Father Ibrahim said, "This is yours, Paul. It's your office. Do you like it?" Paul explored the room like a child. "Yes, I do." "You can change it any way you desire, or just enjoy it. This is your spirit office, your new special place," added the priest. Paul and Father Ibrahim continued going to Paul's throne room and the office whenever they hold spirit classes. Then, during one session, they came into the throne room and Paul saw 3 new doors at the rear of the room. One double door at the center of the wall and one single wide door in each rear corner. "Would you like to go through the center door?" asked the priest. "Sure," Paul answered. They walked through the door. Paul tried to process all the splendor of that room. It's a throne room, but far more elegant than his. A seraphim was on the throne, and an ophanim, a wheel of fire, discreetly behind him, directly. These looked very similar to Asher's consorts from Paul's original encounter. The room itself had a myriad of spirits and lesser angels. They all seemed to focus on Paul. Paul got this feeling that he was underdressed for a banquet and started to feel totally out of place. As he stood in front of the angels, Paul began to bow, but a pair of hands held him in place. "No, stand up straight. Look him straight in the eye. Don't blink. Don't talk," the priest whispered. "You don't look that special," said the seraphim. Paul did not respond or blink his eyes. Instead, he stared at the angel for what seemed like forever. Finally, The angel bowed his head. "How can I help you?" asked the angel. "Mighty Baraquel, seraphim of the first order, the priest answered. "Shut up, priest. I did not address you," shouted the angel. Paul's anger flashed, and he shouted back with indignation, "What's your name? How long have you had this position? Would you want to keep it?" At this time, the seraphim and everyone else in the room fell prostrate before Paul. Not a word was spoken. Father Ibrahim was amazed at the authority that Paul had. With the angels and the spirits, it was somewhat unsettling to him. The priest pointed Paul to a large door on the right side of the room and opened it. He began to go through, but he stopped halfway, stepped back, and allowed Paul to go through first. They left the throne room. There was a long hallway in front of them, and it was illuminated by itself. No actual source can be found. It was quite large, that it could accommodate a large angel. They followed the hallway. We are now traveling between nodes on the Assyrian tree of life, the priest said, as they moved along. He opened his palms and presented a miniature tree of life for Paul to see, a sort of three-dimensional translucent hologram, which was floating above the priest's hands. Paul observed it closely, but it didn't look particularly like a tree, but like a series of leafy rosettes, arranged and constructed in a strange connected lattice pattern. The throne room we were just in is only one of the nodes of the tree. There are actually many, and there are many levels within each node, the priest continued. The tour continued. They passed through a series of throne rooms. Each room or node was somewhat different. The angel and the spirits were different. However, they all graciously greeted and bowed before Paul as he passed by. It seemed that news moves quickly in the tree of life. As soon as Paul left a node, those in that node showed signs of fear for Paul and his priest. The spirits and angels here have special talents, an understanding of different subjects and needs. They are all here to serve you. Father Ibrahim explained. He placed his hand on Paul's shoulder and turned him around. He looked him in the eye and said, "Never allow yourself to be mentally lazy. If you lose track of reality, the next step is insanity." End of chapter 3.